Sunday Telegraph front page as your first choice. And it is the right-hand story there, scathing HS2 report ministers want to hide. Now, the Sundays have been looking at HS2 for a while, obviously controversial, but this is something they've tried to unearth under the Freedom of Information.
It's there are two big transport issues at the moment politically. One is Heathrow, which is on the front page of the Independent on Sunday, and the other is HS2. And it rather suggests here, and the Sunday Telegraph are disclosing this, that ministers are fighting to stop the publication of a report using something called a rare emergency prime ministerial veto.
Gosh.
Which sounds a little bit... and
there's no acronym for that, really, is there?
No, sadly not. It sounds a little... It's like being hit by a heavy cosh. It's also a little bit grubby and sinister in some ways, because you look at this and you skim through it, you think, well, it kind of suggests like the report says something the government doesn't like, so therefore they don't want people to read it. Maybe that's doing a disservice, but it is another... Well, it's another issue for those who are supporting HS2.
The problem is HS2 is so politically toxic. And, you know, instinctively a lot of people, even if they don't have any commercial interest in this, instinctively they just think it's an awful lot of money to be spending on potentially a very small gain. 17 minutes, is that the gain that you're going to get?
Yeah.
How many hospitals could you build for that amount of money? So it's a very toxic story.
I find myself wavering on this. There was a time when I was resolutely against HS2, but sometimes I think, look, it's never going to be a good time to do this.
One should reflect, however, just looking at the detail that Andrew Gilligan's gone into here, the suppressed report is from November 2011. And I suppose there are those people who say, well, that's actually quite a while ago. Things have changed. There's been more work done on the various plans and...
I still think everything should be out in the open, so people have the right to make their own judgments based on all of the available information. I mean, I think increasingly, I think there is an argument to say, look, there's never a good time to do something like HS2. We need to invest in infrastructure in this country. It would create jobs, but I take the argument on board.
Building hospitals would create jobs.
But that's the rhetoric, isn't it? That's the knee-jerk response.
But we do need lots of hospitals. We need, you know, that
but
would
we
actually...
also need a rail system that gets you from one end of the country to the other, and if we don't do it now, it could be a good...
Right,
you know,
well, let's just reflect on some of the language used in this. There were concerns over skills, capability and resources, with not enough people working on the project, and many of those that were not deemed capable or skilled enough. But apart from that, minor point. Is this any way to run a railway?
I mean, I do think one of the biggest issues here is I don't see anyone appearing on Sky or elsewhere who goes into bat for HS2 from a government perspective. You actually need someone who articulates the argument well, and I've not seen or heard of anyone.
That's because there isn't an argument, so...
Right, in the sidings.